Dear friends, we gather this afternoon to remember one who filled our life with his spirit, his skill, his embrace of so many of life's goodness, so much of life's goodness. In humility and gratitude, we turn to the wisdom of our tradition for comfort, for guidance, and for understanding. Throughout the centuries, whenever our people felt lost, confused, adrift, they would say, Esa'inai el heharim. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, the maker of heaven and of earth. Esa'inai el heharim me'ayin Yavo Ezri Esa'inai el heharim me'ayin Yavo Ezri me'im Adonai Osei Shamayim Baretz Ezri me'im Adonai Osei Shamayim Baretz Esa'inai el heharim me'ayin Yavo Ezri. I'm going to try. I think we're far enough away, but I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable. And if anyone feels too close to anyone else, get up and move, please. There are no rules here. You have to be comfortable. I mean, there are rules, obviously. The rules are only for safety. Adonai, what are we? That you have regard for us. What are we that you are mindful of us? We are like a breath. Our days are like a passing shadow. We come and go like grass, which in the morning shoots up renewed, and in the evening fades and withers. You cause us to turn to dust, saying, Return, O mortal creatures. Would that we were wise, that we understood whither we are going. For when we die, we carry nothing away. Our glory does not accompany us. Mark the wholehearted, and behold the upright. They shall have peace. For those of you for whom the 23rd Psalm is familiar, I invite you to join with me in its recitation. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. When I die, remember me with a smile and laughter. If thoughts of me provoke no love, only sadness and tears, I ask that I be soon forgotten. Give what's left of me away to children and old ones who wait to die. And if you must cry, cry for your brother or sister who walks in grief beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give to me. You can love me most by letting love live within the circle of your arms, embracing the frightened ones. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. My dear Fern, Lisa, Lynn, dear family, Ken Friedlander was a go-to kind of guy. He knew how things worked. He knew how to fix them. He knew how to get things done, and if he said he was going to do something, he did. Fern's friends could call for help. If a garage door wouldn't open, if a handle came off a cabinet, if a TV or a computer needed to be set up, Ken could handle it. He was organized, methodical, knowledgeable, planful, and exceedingly able. It was a remarkable experience to travel with him. Once he decided on a destination, he purchased the travel books, did all the research, analyzed prices, locations, transportation, confirmed the hours for museums and points of interest. He checked the currency, the weather, made all of the reservations, and then created an envelope for every day of the trip with all of the necessary information, tickets, and vouchers for every stop on the day's itinerary. It was a remarkable accomplishment of thoughtfulness and preparation, and it was the kind of attentiveness that he brought to everything he did. When he was in the family dry goods store, he knew the quality of the inventory, the distributor, the price of any item in the store. When he worked at their London store for men on the West Side, with its emphasis on beautifully tailored suits, he would be seen, immaculately, tastefully dressed. He was never flashy or flamboyant. He had beautiful, elegant, refined taste. He modeled the values and strengths of the store. When he transitioned into different work, he didn't just sell cars, he knew them and could help the customer determine what make and model would be best for his or her needs. As Lisa pointed out, he was a good salesman, not because he was slick or quick or had a gift for gab, as we associate with the caricature of a salesman. He was good because he was honest, and his customers responded to his integrity and to his respect for them. Ken was open-minded and curious. He was without prejudice because he was genuinely interested in others. He asked questions and listened to the stories of their lives. As Lynn described, people loved him. He had loyal customers and loyal friends. He was straightforward, down to earth, and clear thinking. He was a good person from whom to seek advice, especially when trying to make a decision. He had the ability to see to the heart of a matter, to eliminate all the extraneous concerns that cloud our minds and confuse our thinking, and to suggest a clear course of action. Fern relied upon him for that kind of guidance. His many friends appreciated it, as they knew it was thoughtful, honest, and values-driven. He was never influenced by materialism. He was not impressed by show or swagger. He looked to the character of a person, for that is what he most admired. And when he did admire another, he was not reticent about expressing it. He was exceedingly proud of both of his daughters, and they knew it. He was proud of Lynn's career as the associate director at Franklin County Children's Services, of her marriage to Bob Sowards, and the family they created with Jordan, who will soon be off to college. He was entirely encouraging and supportive of Lisa when she was accepted to the Ohio State School of Nursing. He was proud of her hard work and good grades and her subsequent career as a registered nurse in the surgical intensive care unit of the Cleveland Clinic, and as an assistant nurse manager. He was proud to welcome Justin into your family and probably could not quite fathom the arrival of Caleb, followed 11 months later by Sarah and Allison. I also imagine that he felt uncomfortably helpless in the face of the sheer courage and strength that it took to care for, nurture, support, watch over, attend to, feed, bathe, play with, and love all 3 children, especially with 2 of them in the NICU for the first 7 months of their lives. Ken Friedlander was a complicated man. He knew how to structure and organize and conduct his life. He knew how to achieve goals and how to read instruction manuals so that he could understand how anything worked. He was responsible. He was resilient. He was creative and resourceful. He was clear-thinking and even wise for many who sought his guidance. But he had a strange, inexplicable uncomfortability and inability to connect with children, to relate to their experiences, or to enter into their world. He could appreciate them from afar, as it were, but there was something about the nature of children in all their wonder and unpredictability that unnerved Ken's logical, rational, practical, and functional approach to life and made him feel anxious, uncertain, out of control, and possibly even inept. It is an unsolved mystery of his life. His own childhood was quite colorful. Ken was the oldest of Joseph J. and Pauline London Friedlander's 2 children, as his sister, Karen, followed. And our hearts go out today to Karen's children, Amy, Sherry, and Bobby, and to Michael and Katie. They lived in the Buckeye Avenue area of Cleveland, a predominantly Hungarian neighborhood, which may help to explain Ken's vaunted stubbornness and his streak of anger, both of which, according to folklore, are associated with his Hungarian temperament. His parents were born here in Cleveland, but his grandparents, who lived just across the hall in their apartment building, were from Hungary, and he grew up with the sounds and inflections of the Hungarian language and culture in his ears, and ultimately his soul. He used to reminisce about how all the help in their store spoke Hungarian. The Friedlanders lived above their dry goods store and across from a chicken plucker. Without going into details, suffice it to say that Ken never ate chicken unless it was most effectively disguised. He rode his bicycle and he went to school in their close-knit neighborhood, just off of Shaker Square, until he was 9. He was extremely close to his grandmother, Anna London, and remembered baking with her in their kitchen with his little rolling pin, while his grandfather Max read the foreword. Kenny continued to ride his bike in the fairly as yet undeveloped neighborhood of University Heights, where his family moved when he was 9. Ken welcomed the move to a house and a yard and invited his Buckeye friends to come visit in his characteristically planful, organized, careful way, especially when it came to travel. He drew a map for them with clear directions as to how to find him. Sadly, the friends never ventured out, which was probably one of the few times any of Ken's many friends disappointed him. He seems to have quite happily attended the Belvoir School and then Heights High, although somewhere along the way he was diagnosed with dyslexia, and his mother, Pauline, a teacher herself, made it her mission to find an expert who could either correct the disability or at least diminish its effects. Her search, in which she dragged Ken all over town, seems to have yielded very little, except to possibly reinforce Ken's perception of his own inferiority because he could not read well. Interestingly, as an adult, Ken did the research, found the books and the tools that could help him overcome his inability. In his remarkably thorough, precise way. He developed the habit of reading, rereading, and proofreading anything that might be shared with others in order to correct mistakes. He was meticulous about it and had little patience when others were not as careful as he was. His weakness in one area, however, was balanced by his strength in others. He was great with numbers and became the statistician for both the basketball and football teams at Heights. It put him in the thick of things, and he loved to keep track of all the ins and outs of the games. His efforts were not always appreciated at the level he might have wished, but that seems not to have deterred him, as he volunteered his statistician's services at Ohio State in the same capacity. He happily sat on the field and had the pleasure of recounting how he once went out with Woody Hayes for the coin toss, and Woody told him he'd better sit down or he would get hurt. He did get hurt. He got dangerously hurt, but not on the football field. He enjoyed Ohio State. He had a good time there, and he took great pleasure in campus life and activities, in friends and social gatherings. But his reading deficit made his courses very hard for him, except for those in math. He didn't finish, but came back to Cleveland to work at London's store for men on the West Side. It was there that he was shot in the stomach by an intruder when Ken went after him. He survived, as miraculously the bullet just missed his spine and major blood vessels. For the rest of his life, he felt grateful that he had escaped without major injury and alive. He felt that every day was a gift, and he could not complain about dying at 79. Before he reached this point, however, he filled his life with a lot of living. He was fixed up with Dorothy Mervis, who visited here from Pittsburgh. Although their marriage did not last, they managed to bring two outstanding women into this world. It was painful and messy and difficult, but through some miracle of the human spirit, both Lisa and Lynn have created positive, productive, meaningful lives, and each works tirelessly on behalf of others who are in need in this world. When he became a Sunday dad, he also explored the adventure of living alone at Gates Mills Towers, sitting by the pool, enjoying new and old friends, and making the most of his situation. Ken had the enviable ability to go forward with whatever happened in life. He did not look back. He did not second-guess himself. He lived in the present moment, as he told Fern over and over, "Pay attention. This is happening now." He did not look back in recrimination or hypothesize about an unknown future. He was resilient. He was pragmatic. He followed the trends of business and moved into the terminal tower when the West Side store was no longer viable. A fluke going out of business sale led him to concentrate on ties and novelty t-shirts at that same terminal tower location. When he had to close that store, he was seemingly so unperturbed about it that Lynn didn't even know he had left that business and found work selling cars. He had the confidence to know that he would figure out something to do. If he wanted something, he would get there. And he wanted Fern. He didn't know it at first, as they had known each other from afar for some years, as Brian Weiss's parents and the Friedlanders were friendly. As a newly widowed young mother, Fern started a singles group with Rabbi Roberts' help at Temple Emmanuel. Someone brought Ken to a potluck event, and they began to date for 4 years. Wait a minute. I'm going to add it up, I think. Tell me if I'm wrong when I get to the end, okay? They dated for 4 years. Then they moved in together for 10. okay? And then they finally decided to marry in 2000, okay? Oh, good. Not at all. I appreciate it. Fern brought a whole new dimension to Ken's life. He loved her and never tired of telling her she was beautiful inside and out, intelligent, accomplished, artistic. He was proud of her accomplishments, as he was of his daughters, Dan's and Debbie's. Interestingly, he was not reticent in expressing his pride, and he did not begrudge others' successes, especially the women in his family, which was unusual for a man of his age. In fact, it was Ken who insisted that Fern recognize her own abilities and accomplishments in her business, in her relationships, in her artistry. He insisted she call herself an artist, not a painter, even as he wondered how she came up with the creations she did. He also guided her in making decisions that were right, even if they might not be comfortable. She sparkled with intelligence and interest, with care, concern, and compassion. She had a sense of adventure to match his own, and appreciation for fun and friends and family. Fern was devoted to her children, Dan and Debbie, their schooling and accomplishments, their travels and exploits, their competitions and company. She rejoiced as they created families of their own and brought into this world and into Fern's heart the twins, Jacob. I'm sorry. It's Jacob, and then Ben and Anna. That I really appreciate. Thank you. Thank you. I just had my commas in the wrong place. When they brought into the world Jacob, the twins, Ben and Anna, and then Noah, Olivia, and Shane from Debbie. When Dan married Kelly, the family expanded again with Ethan, Kyle, and Zach. Fern enjoyed Ken as he did her. They traveled, it seemed, everywhere and all the time. They took fabulous trips to the west of this country, to Canada and Mexico, to Mackinac Island and Niagara-on-the-Lake. They went to Europe and South America. Ken planned a whole trip around Debbie's World Women's Wrestling competition in Norway. They traveled to France, Italy, England, where Ken enjoyed the cultural challenge of driving on the wrong side of the road. I can imagine the fun they had, because I have had the great pleasure of traveling with Fern and her upbeat, always positive, curious, willing, adventurous nature. Ken loved to drive on any side of the street, but he always gloried in his convertible when the temperature was exactly right for a summer outing. He could happily get into the car at almost any moment and drive into Michigan, rural Ohio, Niagara Falls, Canada. The destination almost didn't matter. The pleasure of the drive and its possibilities enticed him. In similar fashion, he loved boating, which was another shared passion with Fern. When Ken was captured by something, he gave it his full attention and devotion. As a youngster, he was fascinated by the ham radio, but could not master Morse code. When he learned that was no longer a requirement, he obtained his license and immersed himself in the world of the ham radio. He would spend hours just listening. He didn't say much, but he loved to tune in to the police department, once to Nassau, wherever he might find a frequency. Ken loved to garden, especially to tend the flowers and flower pots. It was an interest and hobby he learned in grade school, and at which he could spend hours, pleasurable, productive hours as an adult. He seemed to invest his nurturing instincts in the flowers. He must have appreciated the natural laws, the immutable rules by which they blossomed, grew, and beautified the world around him. He was a complicated man, a person of contrasts and contradiction. He was not a get-down-on-the-floor grandpa, but he was a really good adult friend. He could be so confoundingly fun, supportive, loving, and proud. He was clear-thinking and values-driven. He seemed to live by a code of conduct and of accomplishment. He could do anything he set his mind to do. And yet, he had demons. Demons that erupted suddenly, loudly, and disruptively. They disappeared quickly, but leave us with questions. Questions we will seek to answer in the days and weeks ahead as we remember him. Even as we mourn, even as we miss him, there is no question in our minds as to how he felt about his own mortality. He would not have been happy living as he was and facing only further diminishment. He wanted to be independent, to be in control, and not a burden to anyone else, least of all to Fern. We can imagine him, even now, meticulously doing his research, investigating the stops and sites along the way, preparing an envelope with each day's itinerary as he embarks upon his great adventure into eternity. Zichrona livracha. May his memory rest as a blessing upon us. And let us say, Amen. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch. A fearful thing to love, hope, dream, to be. To be and oh, to lose, a thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing, to love what death has touched. I call now on Fern, who will share some of her reflections with us. Wait, give me 1 second to put my mask back on.
I'm sort of behind here, so I think I'll be okay. So, no, I can put this down. Huh?
There is a stool.
Oh, I think I'm fine.
A little bit too high.
Yeah. So some of this might be repeating, but these are a few things. Kenny, honey, there's so much I could say about you, but mostly you were my biggest supporter. You know, Kenny was a Scorpio, and I know they're supposed to have a bite, which that's another part that we don't need to talk about, but some of the other good traits were loyalty, trustworthiness, and bravery. And those are the ones that I'm choosing to describe you. You would never tell a lie. You're always honest. I could count on you to be so trustworthy that you used to joke that you still upheld the Boy Scout motto. And you were very protective of me. And sometimes when I didn't want you to tell me what to do, you would, because you felt it was the right thing and it would be protective of me. And you were brave. I remember being in London with you, walking in the theater district after dark. And you walked sort of ahead of me, tightly holding my hand behind you, but with your umbrella pointed out. And I asked, why are you doing that? And you said to let anybody know not to mess with us. And you were never afraid of life's challenges. You always took them in stride and had confidence that you could handle anything that came your way. You were the proud owner of the men's clothing store, London store for men on the west side, and the Masterpiece in the Terminal Tower. In both places, you loved the creative way you could display your merchandise. And then you loved to rearrange our house, always in a great way, and display my paintings. and you love my paintings, and it was always so much fun to show you what I was doing. And I will really miss the way you made me feel like such a great artist. I will miss your witty humor. Sometimes you'd say something, and you'd say, "What do you think of that? Did I come up with something good?" And you had. I'd miss the adventures we went on our trips, and I will miss your pragmatic, logical way of dealing with life. I will sort of miss asking you for advice, although sometimes I didn't want to hear what you told me, even if you were right. You took such pleasure in gardening our flowers and arranging the pots on our deck, and you would just sit on the deck and just stare at the composition of the pots, rearranging things here and there to make the scene look better. And just a couple days ago, you called me out, "Fern, come and look. What do you think of this? Do you like it this way? Do you like it that way?" And I thought, "Oh, Kenny, okay." But it was always beautiful. You lived in the present. You tried to enjoy what you were doing at the moment, and you always were reminding me to do the same thing, especially to pay attention when I drive and not thinking what comes next, because you know my mind is always thinking and thinking and thinking and not always paying attention. I will remember that every time I get in the car and know you are still with me. You are not afraid to die, and you thank me so often for the wonderful life we had together. I wish I could have one more day, one more hour with you, but I'm thankful that you left me now, before all of our friends left for Florida for their winter escapes, and they could be a comfort to me. You never wanted to inconvenience anyone, especially me, so your timing was impeccable. And if this was somebody else's funeral, I would read you this at home, and I would look and ask you how I did, and I would look out at you sitting here and watching me to see how you thought I would be doing. And then when I would sit down next to you, you'd give me a proud hug. But now I just have to remember how that felt and keep that feeling with me as I venture out without you by my side. And I will miss you very much.
I call now on Lisa to please come and share her thoughts.
So first, I just want to thank everybody for being here. It means a lot to myself and my family. Tuesday, October 13th, 2020, was a special day, as it was Caleb's 16th birthday. I woke up with an overwhelming sense of shock and disbelief. How quickly time has flown by, and that my eldest baby isn't a baby anymore. I was reminiscing about the sweet baby years as I enjoyed my morning coffee. My day started like any other. I dropped my children at school, ran errands, walked Eddie, and rode my bike. The sky was blue, the sun was shining, the birds were chirping, and the fall foliage glowed red and yellow in the morning sunlight. It was going to be a great day. Later on that afternoon, I heard the 4 words spoken to me that would forever alter the course of my life. Your dad passed away. I have sent text messages, written emails, and wrote Facebook posts longer than 4 words that didn't have as much power or impact than those specific 4 words. Unfortunately, heaven and earth separates us. In his physical absence, he leaves behind invaluable lessons about life. In honor of my son's 16th birthday, I thought I would share with you 16 lessons that I learned from my father that have been a direct contribution to the powerhouse Lisa Burns that you see before you today. These teachings are in no particular order. 1, always, and it's capitalized, do the right thing. There is no other alternative. 2, be present and find happiness. My dad believed you have to find happiness in our present circumstances. If you can't, you'll never be happy. 3, work hard. My dad taught me to take pride in everything I do. Everything, small or large, is important. 4, treat others well. My father believed that you should treat everyone with respect, especially those who others may think are unimportant, whether they are people who have the lowest level job or they are the CEO. It will make a difference in their lives and yours. 5, value independence. My dad instilled in me the belief that I could do and be anything I wanted. He taught me to be an independent thinker and not to follow the crowd just because that would be the easy road. 6, say what you mean and mean what you say. There is just no need for all the fluffy stuff. 7, be clear with your words. My father would assert, think about what message you want to deliver and say it without anything extra. Less is more. 8, surround yourself with people who will lift you up. My dad favored people who will challenge your thinking and people who will push you out of your comfort zone. These are the people who will impact your experiences. Let go of the people who bring you down and accept the status quo. Bring in people who build you up, push your boundaries, and encourage and help you grow. 9, life sucks sometimes. My father stressed to me to find a way to cope with it and move on. My dad had little sympathy for complaints and pretty much no patience for whining. He never has. If I sulked about something that was really not a major problem, and let's be real, most things are not major problems, he would listen and then lay out practical options like let it go, forget about it, or do something to change whatever it was I didn't like. I initially would be annoyed that he wouldn't just let me sit in my self-pity for a minute or two, but I would swallow my pride and walk away because I knew he was right. 10, walk your own path and don't worry about what everyone else is doing. My sister and I have always had a very strong voice in our heads telling us sometimes we just need to turn the corner when everyone else continues straight ahead. 11, do not give a crap about what other people think of you. My dad's name is Kenny. If you met Kenny, he literally didn't give a about what you thought of him. Okay, now I know this sounds a little harsh, but what I mean is he had an uncanny ability to focus on the good things people have to offer to this world and to deflect any negativity before it even touched him. I've watched him free himself of the pettiness, opinions, judgments, criticisms, and fear of others. That stuff was just noise to him, noise that he didn't have time for. He had more room for positive thinking, and that was very powerful. 12, if something is hard, work through it and embrace the process. My dad preached to believe in yourself and don't ever give up. Again, there is no other alternative. 13, always know your budget. My father taught me the power of financial independence. He taught me how to factor taxes, rent, food, and other expenses into planning a budget. This helped me to confidently and capably move into my first apartment at the Hamptons. These lessons continue to be invaluable today. 14, keep cash on you at all times. My father warned me that things happen. Accounts freeze, cards get declined. My dad always thought it would be best to keep a little cash on you in the event of an emergency. 15, whatever you decide to do, be the best at it. My father would say, I don't care if you grow up to shovel mud. Be the best mud shoveler you can be. My father assured me that it didn't matter to him what I wanted to do. His only request of me was that I work hard and was prepared to be the best at it. 16, tough times don't last. Tough people do. My dad emphasized to me that people who are able to weather tough times are equipped to handle just about anything. The lessons my dad has taught me through his words, of course, but more through his actions and his impact on others, continue to inspire me, fueling my passion for life. My father's wisdom and spirit will motivate me to continue to be the best person I can be, to live courageously, welcome all, serve all, and treasure this precious gift we call life.
Thank you, Vern. Thank you, Lisa, for those beautiful tributes to your husband and father. Oh God, you give us loved ones and make them the strength of our life, the light of our eyes. They depart and leave us bereft on a lonely way, but you are the living fountain from which our healing flows. To you the stricken look for comfort and the sorrow laden for consolation. Oh God, we see life as through windows that open on eternity. We see that love endures and the soul endures, as you, O God, endure forever. We see that the years are more than grass that withers, more than flowers that fade. They weave a timeless pattern in a world that is the dwelling place of your love and glory. Please rise. תחת כנפי השכינה, עם קדושים וטהורים, כי זו רקיע מזהירים את נשמת קלמן בן יוסף ופנינה, שהלך לעולמו. בעל הרחמים יסתירהו בסתר כנפיו לעולמים. פריצנו החיים את נשמתו, אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Kenneth Lawrence Friedlander who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen.